in the book, The Internet Money, one of the term that he said, the author mentioned, is infrastructure inversions. You know what it is?
Infrastructure inversions.
Basically,
explain it to me.
Okay, so basically what it means is that when there's a new technologies, then on the early days it has to ride on the infrastructure of the old technologies, or like the old ways, before it create conflict enough so that it has to revolutionize and then eventually create its own infrastructure, and then it carry the old infrastructure, like the old technologies, on the new infrastructure. For example, we have an example of the internet, right? So originally the internet is carried over the phone lines. So in Vietnam, I don't think that happened, but I think US, originally if you want to like go on like surf internet, you have to call the number,
like
right?
dial up.
Yeah, you have to dial up, and then like you search, you surf the internet. But now the phone industry or the telecom communications has developed that. So for those phone companies that provide internet service, they become the internet service provider, and then like they become more data oriented, and now the entire infrastructure of telecom is using internet to carry a phone. So instead of phone lines, now every call that you make is going through internet. So do you think that so because blockchain is very broad, right? They said that it could be implemented in a lot of space. So let's take blockchain in gaming. Do you see that is there an infrastructure version right now in gaming industry, and how do you see it like adopt, or like how do you evolve the gaming industry in the future?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of the problems with like early blockchain games is that they were kind of like not even using like the existing infrastructure of games, right? So like they're using like things from like 2001, like for example, like everything was browser based, right? So like CryptoKitties was like a blockchain game, but it was how did you play? You go to CryptoKitties.co, like a website, and you kind of like just buy and sell the cats, right? So I think like what we're one of our innovations is that, you know, we actually are using Unity, which is basically an ability to build a game on multiple platforms, like desktop, mobile, and an actual application, not something that runs within a web browser, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like we're, you know, right now we're at the stage where we figured out how to basically hook up blockchain to kind of like the existing like gaming infrastructure, and now we're going to be able to kind of see these hybrid games exist. And yeah, I think like the kind of traditional gaming companies, they're quite happy. Like the gaming industry is doing like relatively well. There are definitely some places where things could be improved, but the kind of incumbents are, you know, I think relatively happy with where they're at right now. So they may be curious in blockchain, but I think it's really going to take kind of like grassroots efforts from like small kind of indie game developers to kind of illustrate the successful case studies that those bigger companies can then go and emulate. And I think, you know, they are going to be coming to the early success stories for help. And I think, you know, that's one of the interesting things about our business is that, you know, we want to make Axie very successful. And then I think, you know, our business then becomes very attractive as something that a larger company would want to kind of acquire or something like that long term.
Wow, I see. Very interesting. Yeah, I see. Well, my guess on the game industry and blockchain, I think that one of the things that, like, the way that you guys, for example, you guys allow the user or the community to build on top of the game. I think that's something very interesting, because like the game, most of the time, like you play and then all the features or the levels are from the developers themselves. But then now, because there's a community that like able to build on top of it, you able to develop this one game universe to be so big, much bigger, and then like it creates much more values. And then like for like even the gaming, right? So right now we have esport, right? Esport is professional gamers, and they are monetizing from gaming, or they building their career by streaming, or like let people see the battles. But then you guys also allow the user to monetize it by just spending, spend time on it, and then you can harvest it by just hardware, right? And those will be much more suitable for gamers who are like shy, camera shy. They don't want to be on streaming. That can still be monetized, and they can still see their fruitful success from it, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like right now in traditional gaming, like people, very high skilled gamers are able to make money, and then content creators like streamers are able to make money, but it's very hard for the kind of everyday user to go out there and like basically cash in on their time and effort.
Yes.
So I think we're doing a lot of like interesting experiments related to that mechanic. And then I think like user generated content is very important for blockchain games. Fits really well with the ethos, and ethos kind of like the spirit, the spirit of what we're trying to go for.
I see.
So yeah, I think like the idea of truly owning like the game assets, it kind of aligns the incentive so that they're not just doing it out of passion, but they're also doing it out of kind of monetary incentive in a way, if that makes sense.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. I think that's a wrap for us. Thank you, Jeff, for coming here today. We learned a lot about Axie Infinity, and also we learned about like how you guys operating in Vietnam, and how Vietnam is one of the very interesting market to be in for, especially in the blockchain field. And Axie is actually taking a very different approach for blockchain implementations compared to all the others startup out there. From instead of going to finance or like every other very infrastructure systems, then they're taking roles as the leader to make blockchain become more mass adoption through gaming, through entertainment, and through making it's easier to for not only tech savvy, but for normal people just to play the games, to understand it, and to finally discover the technology behind it.
Definitely, thanks for having me, and I wish you a lot of luck, and best wishes with the podcast. I think it's going to be a really good one. So.
Yeah, thank you.